Hi, this is Mike. I'm reading Robert Alter's translation of Genesis. This is chapter 31. And he heard the words of Laban's sons, saying, Jacob has taken everything of our fathers, and from what belonged to our father he has made all this wealth. And Jacob saw Laban's face, and look, it was not disposed toward him as in time past. And Yahweh said to Jacob, Return to the land of your fathers and to your birthplace, and I will be with you. And Jacob sent and called Rachel and Leah out to the field, to his flocks, and he said to them, I see your father's face, that it is not disposed toward me as in time past. But the God of my father has been with me, and you know that with all my strength I have served your father. But your father has tricked me, and has switched my wages 10 times over, yet God has not let him do me harm. If thus he said, The spotted ones will be your wages, all the flocks bore spotted ones. And if he said, The brindled ones will be your wages, all the flocks bore brindled ones. And God has reclaimed your father's livestock and given it to me. And so, at the time when the flocks were in heat, I raised my eyes and saw in a dream, and look, the rams mounting the flocks were brindled, spotted, and speckled. And God's messenger said to me in the dream, Jacob. And I said, Here I am. And he said, Raise your eyes, pray, and see. All the rams mounting the flocks are spotted, brindled, and speckled. For I have seen all that Laban has been doing to you. I am the God who appeared to you at Bethel, where you anointed a pillar and made me a vow. Now rise, leave this land, and return to the land of your birthplace. And Rachel and Leah answered, and they said to him, Do we still have any share in the inheritance of our father's house? Why, we have been counted by him as strangers, for he has sold us, and he has wholly consumed our money. For whatever wealth God has reclaimed from our father is yours and our children's. And so whatever God has said to you, do. And Jacob rose and bore off his children and his wives on the camels. And he drove all his livestock and all his substance that he had acquired, his property and livestock that he had acquired in Padan Aram, to go to Isaac his father in the land of Canaan. And Laban had gone to shear his flocks, and Rachel stole the household gods that were her father's. And Jacob deceived Laban, the Aramean, in not telling him he was fleeing. And he fled, he and all that was his, and he rose, and he crossed the Euphrates, and set his face toward the high country of Gilead. And it was told to Laban on the 3rd day that Jacob had fled. And he took his kinsman with him and pursued him a 7 days' journey and overtook him in the high country of Gilead. And God came to Laban the Aramean in a night dream and said to him, Watch yourself, lest you speak to Jacob either good or evil. And Laban caught up with Jacob, and Jacob had pitched his tent on the height, and Laban had pitched with his kinsman in the high country of Gilead. And Laban said to Jacob, What have you done, deceiving me and driving my daughters like captives of the sword? Why did you flee in stealth and deceive me and not tell me? I would have sent you off with festive songs, with timbrel and lyre, and you did not let me kiss my sons and my daughters. Oh, you have played the fool. My hand has the might to do you harm, but the God of your father said to me last night, Watch yourself, lest you speak to Jacob either good or evil. And so you had to go because you longed so much for your father's house. But why did you steal my gods? And Jacob answered and said to Laban, For I was afraid, for I thought you would rob me of your daughters. With whomever you find your gods, that person shall not live, before our kinsmen make recognition of what is yours with me, and take it. But Jacob did not know that Rachel had stolen them. And Laban came into Jacob's tent and into Leah's tent. and into the tent of the 2 slave girls, and he found nothing. And he came out of Leah's tent and went into Rachel's tent. And Rachel had taken the household gods and put them in the camel cushion and sat on them. And Laban rummaged through the whole tent and found nothing. And she said to her father, "Let my lord not be incensed that I am unable to rise before you, for the way of women is upon me." And he searched, and he did not find the household gods. And Jacob was incensed and voiced his grievance to Laban. And Jacob spoke out and said to Laban, "What is my crime? What is my guilt, that you should race after me? Though you rummage through all my things, what have you found of all your household things? Set it before my kin and yours, and they shall determine between us 2. These 20 years I have been with you. Your ewes and your she-goats did not lose their young. The rams of your flock I have not eaten. What was torn up by beasts I brought not to you. I bore the loss. From my hand you could seek it, what was stolen by day and stolen by night. Often by day the parching heat ate me up, and frost in the night, and sleep was a stranger to my eyes. These 20 years in your household I served you, 14 years for your 2 daughters, and 6 years for your flocks, and you switched my wages 10 times over. Were it not that the God of my father, the God of Abraham, and the terror of Isaac was with me, you would have sent me off empty-handed. My suffering and the toil of my hands God has seen, and last night he determined in my favor." And Laban answered and said to Jacob, "The daughters are my daughters, and the sons are my sons, and the flocks are my flocks, and all that you see is mine. Yet for my daughters, what can I do now, or for their sons whom they bore? And so come, let us make a pact, you and I, and let it be a witness between you and me." And Jacob took a stone and set it up as a pillar. And Jacob said to his kinsmen, "Gather stones." And they fetched stones and made a mound, and they ate there on the mound. And Laban called it Yagur Sahudatha, but Jacob called it Galed. And Laban said, "This mound is witness between you and me this day." Therefore its name was called Galed and Mizpah, for he said, "May Yahweh look out between you and me when we are out of each other's sight. Should you abuse my daughters, and should you take wives beside my daughters, though no one else is present, see, God is witness between you and me." And Laban said to Jacob, "Look, this mound, and look, the pillar that I cast up between you and me. Witness be the mound, and witness the pillar, that I will not cross over to you past this mound, and you will not cross over to me past this mound, and past this pillar for harm. May the God of Abraham and the God of Nahor, the gods of their fathers, judge between us." And Jacob swore by the terror of his father Isaac. And Jacob offered sacrifice on the height, and called to his kinsmen to eat bread. And they ate bread and passed the night on the height.